All right. Thank you everyone for joining. I am so excited to introduce Stephanie. Stephanie is an author, speaker, coach, integrative hypnotist, and yoga instructor. She follows a holistic approach to help clients heal from stress, anxiety, sleep issues, and more. I caught up with Stephanie this morning and she was offering some really great snippets. Also, I've been fortunate enough to get a copy of her book, Goodbye Anxiety, Hello Freedom, which, as Stephanie shared, is a really short book. So it just has some really like concise tidbits of things that you can do when you're feeling maybe a little bit stressed out or need a moment to breathe. So yeah, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining. I know you have a little presentation, but I'll hand the call over to you for the next 30 minutes or so, and then we can open up for questions and some dialogue.
Fantastic. Thank you. And thank you all for being here on National Napping Day. You could have been napping instead of here. So you made a good choice. Let me get this going here. And you can see my screen, right? Okay, excellent. So this is shocking. Prescriptions for anti-anxiety medication rose 34.1% from mid-February to mid-March last year. And here we are a year later. I can only imagine how much that number has gone up. I mean, that was really a shocking number to me to see 34.1% in just 1 month. And that was at the very beginning of all this. So today, I'm going to ask you, please make sure you mute yourself. Let me see if I can figure out. Okay. I've got some people with their mics on, and I can't see who it is. If you could please make sure you mute yourselves.
So many reserves coming in from the past 2 week purchases that.
There we are. Okay. So turn everything off. If you've got something, like the noise that we just heard, turn it off, shut down all your windows and screens, turn your phones off, and give yourself the gift of this next 45 minutes to an hour. Because I want to take you away from, that scary statistic to this incredibly calm, zen, peaceful feeling. That's what I want to help you get in touch with in this presentation. So 3 things I know for sure. Anyone can become resilient. If I can, you can. I didn't know until I struggled with insomnia. I didn't know that I had struggled with anxiety my entire life. I thought it was normal to walk around with your shoulders as earrings and to always worry about things, but not just worry about things, worry about the worst case scenario. So if I can become resilient, anyone can, but it takes action. And I joked earlier with Christine and Krista that, count how many times I say take action, because I'm going to say it a lot today, because what I'm going to share with you, you're going to enjoy, but if you don't continue to do it, it's not going to change anything. And, they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So what I'm going to teach you today, they're super simple, and they're super simple for a reason, because I want you to experience short moments of calm many times. It used to be many times a day. And a year ago, I scratched out a day and changed it to short moments of calm many times an hour. That's how we can easily keep our emotional resilience and then not only survive, but actually thrive. So what we're going to cover today, the number one most important thing to take away from here, like if you only take away one thing today, I'm going to, in a moment, share with you this number one most important thing. You're going to get to experience, not just hear me say, wow, your mind is so powerful. You're going to actually experience it, and it will be a game changer for you. I'll teach you several super simple ways to calm stress and anxiety, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A and for some live coaching. And I really hope you'll jump in here, because this is an opportunity to get your questions answered, but also if you've got certain things that like, okay, if I'm, nervous about this, how could I handle that? That to me is like the most fun part, is because I want to be able to be interactive with you. So what's this number one most important thing? It's that emotions are a choice. And we don't feel like it. A lot of times we feel like it's all happening and we have no control over it. And yet, wise Abraham Lincoln years ago said, most folks are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. Can you see how faded this card is? It's been up on my wall above my computer screen for well over 20 years as a reminder that I want to be the girl holding the flowers, not the girl scowling at the bee. It comes down to, are we reacting? Are we responding? And where's control in all of this? Bob Proctor says, when you react, you're giving away your power. When you respond, you're staying in control of yourself. Viktor Frankl said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So this is fun. I want you to just really be with me on this and discover how powerful your mind really is. So if it's comfortable, let your eyes close. If that's not totally comfortable, just gaze down and let them just be a very soft gaze, but to break up the distraction of what's on the screen in front of you. So I'm going to ask you to see or imagine, because some of us see pictures in our mind's eye and some of us simply imagine, and either way is fine. So if you would imagine that you and I are sitting across a table from each other, we don't have to worry about distancing. We're just hanging out. Maybe we're having that seltzer that Krista is having. Maybe we're having an adult beverage that the other person might have been having, but we're just hanging out. And for some reason, I bring out a lemon. And it's not just any lemon, it's a Costco lemon. So it's huge. It's like the size of a grapefruit. And whether you see it as a picture in your mind's eye or imagine, you can see or imagine that pitted yellow skin, thick and dimply and the little two pointy sides to it. And I start rolling it around on a cutting board to loosen up the juices, and maybe you can get a little scent of that lemony goodness. And then imagine that I take a very sharp knife and I slice it in half and the juices start to spray. You might feel some of it touching your skin. Now you can really start to get a nice smell of that. And then imagine that you reach over and you pick up one of those halves and you put it under your nose, and oh my gosh, you can really smell that lemony goodness now. And now imagine that you open your mouth and you take a big, juicy bite out of it. And what just happened? Open your eyes and let that go. I saw some scrunched up faces because chances are you started salivating and you felt, kind of like sour taste in your mouth. And it's all just in our imagination, right? We're not together. We're not in the same room. We're not across from a table from each other. But your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So we can leverage that. Again, if I said to you, your subconscious doesn't know the difference between real and imagine, you'd be like, all right, I'm not really sure she knows what, well, I'll just go along with it. But now you've experienced that and we can learn how to leverage it so that we can use the power of our subconscious mind, which by the way, is like 90%. That's where our real power is. Our conscious mind is about 10%. So we want to activate our subconscious mind. And now that you know, all right, I had this experience that was really kind of freaky. I was tasting the lemon. Then we can start leveraging that for you. Again, it comes back to take action. I really would love if one of you were counting how many times I say this. You don't go to run a marathon and take, oh, well, I'm going to go for one run. And then all of a sudden, there you are for a marathon. You are practicing. And so with these very simple techniques, I really hope that you will just pick a couple of them. In my book, I have 35 different ways, and it's not because you need to learn all 35. It's because one size doesn't fit all. So take 2 or 3 that you like for the ones I share with you today and buddy up with somebody else on the call to be accountability buddies for the next 7 days or so, and check in every day. Hey, are you doing the techniques? How's it working for you? And then at the end of 7 days, check back in and notice how you feel calmer and you have much more emotional balance. Sarah, wow, she came to me with a crippling fear of flying when she was 19 years old. I don't think she has that fear anymore. She's skydiving. I have a picture of her co-piloting a small plane. And she built a business, a very successful business, as the 5-foot traveler. I kid you not. So a year ago, when the pandemic hit the world, she was stranded. She was in isolation in Oslo. And I reached out to her and I said, how are you doing? And she said, I'm doing well because I still use the techniques that you taught me. So again, these success stories, it's like, oh, it's great, but it's not just because we did the healing work together. It's because they keep taking the action years and years later. Clients who still have a little shell ring that I gave them years and years ago when I still had an in-person practice. I, by the way, have been practicing over Zoom for 5.5 years. So I feel like last year, the world finally caught up with me. Now it's not like, oh, that's kind of weird. All right, so let's roll up our sleeves and get into these strategies and techniques. I'm not bored and I'm not tired. It's actually the first technique is to just yawn. So I want to see people just yawning, because now that you know that your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real and imagined, now you'll understand that whether it's an involuntary yawn or a big fake yawn, your subconscious mind doesn't know. So it still has the same effect of triggering your vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in your body. And it goes from your brain down to your belly and activates the parasympathetic, or rest, digest, and relax nervous system. So please, I'd love to see some yawns. Come on, who's going to yawn with me? So you can be in a meeting and doing this, and they'll just think, all right, she didn't have a good night's sleep again, because raise your hand if you've been having sleep issues in this past year and you never had them before. I'm seeing so many people for sleep issues because of the stress and anxiety of coronavirus ongoing and all that we dealt with in 2020. This next one, hands down, my client's favorite breath technique. And now when I do this on the Zoominars, people say, yeah, wow, that was really great. My husband attended one of my webinars one day, and he said afterwards, he said, wow, that square breathing is my favorite too. So even if you know this, you might know it as box breathing or 4 in, 4 out. Even if you've done this before, I'd like you to kind of check in right now and think about something that happened recently that caused you to get stressed or tense or anxious, and rate how you're feeling about it now. Are you feeling it in your neck and shoulders? Are you still carrying on to some of the anger? And give it a number of 1 to 10. And, maybe it's a 7. Okay. After we do the square breathing, I'm going to ask you to go back again and rate it and notice how many points it came down. So square breathing is a square. You can trace a square. I'll do it just so you have a visual, but you can trace it on the desk in front of you. You can trace it when we go back to in person. You can be in a conference room and tracing this on your leg and your hands under the table. Nobody's going to know what you're doing. So I'll explain it the first time. Don't do it with me the first time. And then we'll do a couple of rounds of it together. So it's really important that as you take your first breath in, we're going to breathe in 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to hold 2, 3, 4. So it's really important that on that in breath, you're not going all the way to the top, because you'll have a hard time holding it. If, however, you do maybe a 75 or 80% breath, then it's easy for you to hold it for the count of 4. Then we exhale to the count of 4 and hold it to the count of 4 again. So easy peasy. It will help if you are, tracing the square. You don't have to do it in the air. You can do it on the table or on your knee, like I said. So let's do 3 rounds of this together. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. And let your breath come back to its natural rhythm now. And notice Maybe that tension I had in my neck and shoulders is gone, or maybe it went from a 7 down to a 1. Maybe it went from a 7 to a 3. And then you think, okay, well, let me do another round of this. And, again, these are all so simple, and they're designed specifically so you can plug them in throughout the day. What happens is when we just, muscle through the day and we're pushing and pushing and pushing, and then we get to the end of the day, that's when we are going for booze or drugs or whatever. So when we offload, if you think about this as a stress bucket, it's about 3/4 of the way full. All right, is it full of joy and peace, or is it full of stress and anxiety? If you keep offloading the stress and anxiety through the day, you're going to get to the end of the workday and you're going to be much more emotionally balanced. So stop for a moment and think, what's right now? Well, what's right now is, first of all, it immediately brings you into this moment. And Lao Tzu, a famous philosopher centuries ago, said that anxiety is worrying about the future, depression is mulling over the past. So we want to be in this moment. And in the midst of, the news, all they want to show you is the bad stuff. They're drumming those fear beats. So when we come into what's right now, well, maybe you're thinking, oh, what's right now is I'm learning some new ways that are going to help me feel calmer. For me, I am incredibly grateful. And what's right now is my husband and I are both safe and healthy. We have a roof over our head. We have food in the pantry. And this one I love because if you have kids at home, first of all, bless you, because I've said to my husband 100 times in this past year, I'm so grateful that our kids were not little when we had to go through this. So if you do, I really, honor the extra burdens that you're dealing with. But what a fun thing when the kids are starting to get agitated, if you say, okay, what's right now? Or at the dinner table, go around the table. What's right now? We're also, there's kind of a 2-part prong here. We're also stimulating gratitude. And I am a big believer in gratitude because there have actually been research studies that prove, not just suggest, but prove that when we feel gratitude, not when we're thinking it, but when we actually feel it and we express it, it gets our brain to produce dopamine and serotonin, which are the happy hormones that are found synthetically in certain prescription medications. So, what's right now? You can do that again and again and always find something, even if it's, well, you wake up and you have one of those mornings, or sometimes you just wake up grumpy and you think, oh, what's right now? I remember to brush my teeth last night. It doesn't have to be, oh, I won the lottery. But again, the more you do this and you keep stimulating those happy hormones, the more emotionally balanced you're going to feel. This one I love to demo with a tennis ball, but I would venture that I'm the only person on this call that has a tennis ball. So then, oh no, I can't teach you this? Sure I can. Put your hands in front of your heart, like prayer palms, and swing out and back, out and back, out and back, and out and back. And this is crossing the midline, because obviously we're crossing the midline of the body. You keep doing it as I explain this. What's more important is we're crossing the midline of the brain. So we're stimulating both the left and the right sides of the brain. And that is what helps us maintain and create emotional balance. Krista mentioned that I'm a certified yoga teacher. So in our physical asanas, we're constantly falling out of balance and coming back. That's what the physical practice is about. So these are all simple ways for you to fall a little out of emotional balance and bring yourself back. Fall a little bit out and come back. And that is a much more comfortable way to live, instead of how I used to. When I was growing up, we had a blow up clown punching bag, and you punch it and it would go down and it would slowly come back up. And that's a really exhausting way to live. So again, you could do this with your kids. You can do any of this with your kids. You can do any of this with your partner. But I will say that put your oxygen mask on first. We learn things and we want to go teach it to other people, but take care of yourself first, and then you'll be in a stronger position to help others. All right. Want to see you strike a pose. It doesn't have to be, arms up in the air, but it could be. Amy Cuddy had one of the most watched TED Talks ever. And it was on this strike a pose. And we know that my body language affects you. If I came to this call and I was like this, you'd be like, oh my gosh, who is she, right? But I come to the call and I'm striking a pose. I've got my heart open. I've got my shoulders back. And so Amy Cuddy was like, all right, I'm not going to see how my body language affects you. I'm going to see how my body affects myself. And so they'd have volunteers come in and test their saliva. They were testing for levels of cortisone and testosterone. And testosterone, ladies, we have it as well, just not as much as the guys do. And the testosterone is like a leadership hormone. And so we want more of that, right? So 2 minutes of standing in a high power pose. And it could be like this, it could be like this. They tested the saliva again, and the testosterone was really high. And the cortisol, the stress hormones, was very low. Conversely, when you're hunched over, and good Lord, we are hunched over so much more in this past year from being on our phones, hunched over on our computers, some people sitting at a kitchen table, not sitting in a good place. So as we're hunched over, we are putting the cortisol up and dropping the testosterone. You can see this in nature. You see gorillas, they get big and they pound their chests. And you see, the lions that have the big manes, and peacocks as they spread their things out. One of my dogs, when she sees another dog that she's feeling a little competitive with, the hackles on her back go up. And so in nature, we can see that they just naturally do this. And, oh, okay, this is something we don't have to, do this in the middle of a Zoom meeting, right? We can just sit and notice, oh, I can bring my shoulders up, back, and down. And now I'm in a high power pose. And it helps me to feel better. It also helps with my posture. So again, strike a pose. Interesting that blind runners who've never seen somebody crossing the finish line with their arms up, they do it anyway, because it's a natural instinct. Okay, now it's time to relax. And if you haven't shut everything off yet, I'm really going to urge you to do it for this next one, because you're going to give yourself an incredible gift if you are fully present to experience this. This is like my favorite gift that I can give you. So if you are comfortable with it, close your eyes. If not, just bring your eyes to a soft gaze on this idyllic, peaceful, blissful picture. And just like when we did the lemon exercise, whether you see or imagine what I'm going to describe, it's okay. Just imagine it if that's what is right for you. So I invite you to see or imagine yourself at the top of a beautiful staircase looking down. Maybe it's one in your home. Maybe it's one that you saw in some fancy hotel, or maybe it's a wooden one going down to a secluded beach. However you see or imagine it is absolutely perfect. And you're going to imagine going down one step at a time. Each step down, relaxing you more and more. Each step down, taking you deeper and deeper still. 10, gently drifting down. 9, more and more comfortable, more and more relaxed. 8, drifting, floating. Knees feeling comfortable, hips feeling comfortable. 7, 6, deeper and deeper down. 5, let's pause here for a moment. Only halfway down, and notice how good this feels. And then give yourself permission to go even deeper. 4, 3, 2, as if you can double your relaxation. And 1, all the way down. Finding yourself now in front of a door. And again, however you see or imagine that is absolutely fine. But notice through the cracks in the door, there's a beautiful golden white light. And it's almost like it's beckoning and calling to you, saying, come over here. And so curious, you go over and you open the door, and that golden white light comes streaming out and surrounds you, oh, with such an amazing sense of inner peace and calm. And so curious, you cross over the threshold, and to your delight, you are crossing over into your own private paradise. Notice what you see. Notice what you hear and smell. Wow, even the temperature of the air is exactly perfect without being too cool or too warm. Ah, and notice who you're with, or if you're here by yourself. Hey, remember, it's your own private paradise. And notice what it feels like to be here without anyone wanting anything, without anyone needing anything. Simply able to be here in this moment in your private paradise. And notice of the things that you see, notice there's one color that kind of pops, that jumps out like, oh my gosh, this captures the essence of my private paradise. And without moving your arms in any way, simply take one on one of your hands, your thumb and your first finger, and just gently rub it together and take a breath of that color in. Just breathe it in and then exhale that wave of colorful relaxation from the top of your head all the way down to the tips of your toes. And notice how good that feels. So let's do that again. Thumb and finger together. Take a nice deep breath in. Exhaling that wave of colorful relaxation from the top of your head all the way down to the tips of your toes, washing away any unwanted emotions, washing away any stress or tension. And we're going to do this several times more. And when we're done with the call today, I want you to, when you sign off, immediately go find something small that you can keep with you. It could be a rock or a crystal. Maybe it's a ring that you don't normally wear, something that you'll keep with you to remind you that every time you see or touch this object, you simply touch your thumb and finger again. Do that now and take that deep breath in. Exhaling that colorful wave of relaxation from the top of your head all the way down to the tips of your toes. And so imagine you doing this over and over again all through the day, offloading unwanted emotions. Then you begin to start this new healthy habit, could become your new best friend, that anytime you feel the first inklings of unwanted emotions, without even thinking about it, you simply touch your thumb and finger together, take that breath in, exhaling that wave of relaxation. And do that on your own a few more times. Building up this new neural pathway so that this does become something you can be doing years and years from now. Because you build up this healthy habit. Again, it's take action, take action. I had a client who came to me when I first opened my office 16 years ago. She came to me probably in the first 6 months, and she popped in and out for 3-4 years, and just a couple of times a year. And she'd come back 3 or 4 years later, and she still had the little shell ring that I had given her on her very first visit. So it's really important that you go find something to remind you to do this. Again, take action, take action, take action. Here's Jennifer, who I worked with her over 7 years ago. And she says right here, I use the tools she taught me daily. So, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. That's why I keep showing you these clients who, have gone on to have such success because they've taken action. So now let's get into some Q&A. And I bet you might be curious. Everybody had their own private paradise experience. Like, I do this intentionally because, if you have a beach scene, that's my scene, but my interpretation of a beach scene and what makes it so incredibly relaxing is going to be different than yours. So I have you do the color too, because if I say, I bet you can guess what my favorite color is, right? But if I say blue and blue isn't like really calming for you, then, it's not going to be as great an experience. So if you want to come off mute, how do I do this? Allow you to mute, unmute yourselves. Okay, you have the power to unmute yourself now. So if somebody will come off mute and tell me what their color is, I can tell you what the energetic signature of it is. This is really cool.
Hey, Stephanie. My color was green.
Your color was green, and I can't see who this is. What's your name?
Matt.
Matt, nice to see you and hear you. Nice to have you here. Green helps overcome fear, calm the body, and releases frustration and anger. It helps dissolve aggression in relationships or mend a broken heart. It helps release negative patterns and beliefs and can help you center yourself and release shock in stressful situations. If you need to relax, meditate, and heal, green replenishes energy. That's some pretty awesome energy, huh?
Nice. It's a good color.
Nice. Excellent. Okay. Who did anybody on the call get black?
I was seeing black.
Okay. And you probably were like, oh, what? Wait, right? Always people go, wait, I got black, thinking it's not good. Black is a color of protection, strength, and retreat. A gateway to new experiences. It's a test of strength and resolve. It can help you dissolve and let go of the old so you can welcome the new. Again, pretty good energy, huh? And I'm sure somebody got pink. Pink is the color of unconditional love. And so all of these colors have different energetic signatures. And so, as you're doing what's for you and you're doing this breath, you don't have to think, oh, I'm breathing in black. It's now lodged. It's now programmed like a computer program running in the background. It's now programmed in your brain's supercomputer. So anybody else want to know what their color is?
How about blue?
Blue. Well, you are obviously right there with me. Who asked for blue?
But this is Catherine.
Okay, great, Catherine. It is creates a sense of tranquility, serenity, and peace by soothing the mind. It can lead people to their truth and connection with the divine. Mentally immersing yourself in blue rays helps protect you from dense energies and brings you back to your center. It's a color of patience, faith, acceptance, forgiveness, and independence. Pretty powerful, Catherine, huh?
I like it.
Yeah, good. Anybody else have a question about their color? Okay, how about questions just in general? Questions about the techniques. Hey, this one worked for me. This one didn't work so well for me. Hey, I'm dealing with this in my personal life or my professional life. And how can I deal with it better?
Stephanie, it's Chris. Would you mind taking us off the presentation so we can all see each other?
There we go.
Thank you.
Okay, is that better? I took myself off spotlight too.
Perfect, thanks.
Okay, great.
This way, when people ask questions, you'll know who's asking.
Fantastic. All right, Chris, I'm going to ask you to start me off. Get the questions rolling.
Okay, so a lot of my friends are young moms who have small children and they're juggling so many different things. And, when you speak with them, they're so stressed out. Do you have any suggestions on how they can manage some of that stress?
Yeah. And, truly my heart, any young moms, my heart goes out to you because, you got hit with a much bigger burden than I did, having my kids grown and flown. So the first thing I would say is, Mama, put your oxygen mask on first, because as mothers, we have a tendency to put the kids first and, put everybody else first. And then, we're totally depleted. So if you, learned a couple of these techniques today that you liked, action them. And I'm not being cheeky about this, but as you get up in the morning, if you ground yourself, if you start your day with gratitude, the day is going to start to go a little bit better. And for those having sleep issues, Our sleep issues start literally from how we wake up in the morning. I had a guy that I worked with many years ago. He was a referral from his psychiatrist. He had all kinds of things going on, and he came to me for help with his insomnia. And I said, okay, do you wake up with an alarm? He said, yeah. I said, could you play it for me? And he gets out his phone, and it's like an alarm on a big battleship. And I was like, okay, you're shocking your system from the word go. So if instead we start with, okay, before I'm going to go get the kids, let me connect in with 3 things I'm grateful for. Then you're going to go into, if you wake up grumpy, as sometimes we just have grumpy days. If you wake up grumpy and you instead shift yourself into gratitude, then how you're going to approach your kids and or your partner is you're going to have a different interaction. And then these tools that I shared with you are so simple that you can teach your kids. So, imagine a family, go to the drugstore and get a little can of tennis balls. And all right, kids, it's time to play with the ball. All right, kids, hey, let's stop what's right now. So that when we, anxious moms have anxious kids. I know that from getting it from my mother, passing it down to my children. Anxious moms have anxious kids. So when we start to find more emotional balance, our kids find more emotional balance. Was that helpful, Chris?
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
good. Quiet group here. I know you've got questions.
Hey, Stephanie, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. It's been amazing, and I definitely will plan on incorporating a lot of these techniques as early as tomorrow. One thing that I noticed as you were kind of going through them, a lot of them are similar to things that I had learned in yoga, which I haven't been able to go to, yoga in person, and I'm missing that. So kind of thank you for reminding me of that.
So can I jump in for a second? Please reach out to me after the presentation. My yoga studio has not gone under, and Monday night was the 1-year anniversary of the last time I did an in-person yoga class, but I'm still on my mat and practicing, so I can share that information with you.
That would be amazing. I mean, I know I have the Peloton app, but I haven't really found a good someone like with whom I've really connected.
Well,
like I person.
Yeah, we can have a private conversation. I can figure out what you're looking for, and I can point you in the right direction of a teacher that I think will work for you.
That's great. I appreciate that. And not to take up too much of the group's time, but my question was just about sleeping, right? So is there an exercise that you could recommend for either before I go to bed or when I'm lying in bed, like to help me fall and stay asleep potentially?
Right. And I see some other hot heads nodding. So Jen, it's not just you. So I'll do my sleep thing, and maybe I can come back and do a whole presentation on sleep another time, but I'll just do a quick overview of it. Is literally it starts from how we start our day. I share that with the guy in the alarm because it was first of all a true story. I was shocked when I heard it, but that we think, all right, it happens when I put my head on the pillow, and it really doesn't. It's the accumulation of all the stress throughout the day. And then it's all right, now I've got to go to sleep. And when I experienced insomnia, I got medication, and it worked for a short time. And then it didn't work anymore. And so I was like, oh my gosh, what if I take the medication? It doesn't work. What if I, right? And so it just became the self-fulfilling prophecy. So as I learned, the whole reason I'm doing what I do now is out of self-preservation. I was like, all right, the medication's not working. How do I deal with this? So as I learned all of these different techniques, it was for me, and I was able to learn how to sleep again. And so the book is really the culmination of over 20 years of research where, the book is so thin, and it's thin intentionally because I don't want you to learn 35 techniques. I want to learn, just a couple that are going to really work for you. So by doing those throughout the day, and then the really fun thing about like right before you go to sleep is your brain is in a state identical to hypnosis. So you can use that time to program in. I sleep peacefully and through the night. And if I have to wake up to use the restroom, I just go use the restroom and come right back and fall right back asleep. Like literally that little time, that time that's like that twilight time right before you drift off. So as you get in bed and you again start taking action, doing this every single night, then, oh, okay, it starts to happen.
Okay.
So,
That makes sense.
and well,
Process.
and it's so simple, right? There are sleep apps, but you can see by the way that I teach, I don't want you dependent. I'm not sure if most hypnotists still do it, but long ago when I first got trained, they were giving the client a recording, like actual tape recording, a cassette. It was that long ago. But I was always like, okay, that means I'm reliant on a tape. No, I want to be reliant on myself. So by sharing with you, okay, here are these things that you can do for yourself and not have to listen to a tape to be able to go to sleep. A, then you're getting your sleep back, and B, you're feeling more empowered, right? Was that
Thank you.
helpful, Jen?
Yeah, it's very helpful. It sounds like it's a process, right? And it's not just something to which you give attention right before you go to bed. It's something to which you give attention throughout the day.
Right.
So,
And, I will tell you, I've got another client story that I'll share before we end today, where she struggled with insomnia, anxiety, physical pains for a year. And when I say insomnia, anybody on the call that has ever experienced it, our bodies get a jolt because it is freaking torture, right? And so she had a year of this, and she came to work with me, and she's sleeping again, and she's not having the panic attacks. So, again, I'm giving you these ideas of, okay, work this. And if you do these, chances are you're going to be sleeping again. If not, let's have a conversation. But I want to empower you. That's truly the core of who I am, is I want to empower you to be able to be self-reliant. And so Kristen doesn't rely on me, we work together, but now she uses the tools and takes action.
thank you so very much.
Thank you, Jen. And please do reach out. I'll connect you with a yoga teacher.
With pleasure.
Okay, great.
Hey, Stephanie. So I'm Dawn.
Hi, Dawn.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Well, this has been great. It's been wonderful.
Thank
So
you.
I do have a question though. The whole don't react, respond. So I feel like that is so important, especially as we're more, we've got 25 things going on our screens. We've got Skype. People are Skyping us, emailing us. We're on Zoom calls, whatever. And I just feel like naturally right now, our anxiety has gone up. And so when you read an email that just blows your brain up or something, or maybe you're reading something so fast that you think it says one thing or as opposed to another, like what techniques, in my own family, we tend to be very reactive people. So we can each like just, it's just boom, boom, boom. And all of a sudden, it's fireworks.
Yeah.
So what do you suggest as you're seeing something that kind of makes you go red? Like, are you talking about the yawn, square breathing, or is it just like, take it down?
So
like what's your best technique?
Is the one that you'll do, is my answer to the best technique, right? But Dawn, come off mute again and tell me, what was your color?
Kind of turquoisey, bluish.
Nice. So kind of a combination of two.
Yeah, I would actually say it was almost like the blue that's on the Tiffany blue, like kind of that lighter blue color.
Okay, so first let's look at turquoise. Turquoise connects you to your feelings and intuition. It builds confidence, improves communication, and awakens empathy through its ability to awaken your heart and help you discover your life's purpose. So I would say when you see that email that makes you see red, immediately go to your turquoise breath. I'm telling you, this breath, if you do it and you action it, it could become your new best friend. So you said, your family how old are your kids, if you don't mind me asking, Dawn?
I've got a almost 23-year-old and then a 17-year-old.
Okay, and they are dealing with their own levels of incredible stress, anxiety, and depression now. Before the pandemic, I would, and this is why I wrote the book. I would never planned on writing a book, but I have been saying for decades, we need to be teaching our kids how to do these, emotionally regulate. So it's take care of yourself, oxygen mask on you first, and then first of all, the kids are going to notice that mom's chilling out. I literally had my son come home on a college break one time and he goes, "Did you start smoking weed?" And I said, "No," but he saw the difference from me being, reactive to, responding. And so when we start training ourselves, I can respond like this, then that becomes then that gives you that little space that was talked about by Viktor Frankl. So it's becoming a habit, right? We have these neural pathways, and for anybody who's kind of a little geeky about neuroscience, you'll like this. We have neurons that fire off, and the first time we experience something, they clump together. And then the next time we experience it, it clumps together and it keeps firing these same neural pathways, and it gets a deeper and deeper groove. And so we have gotten into this overreactive state collectively. Now, I'm not just talking about you and me, Dawn. I'm talking about collectively as a country, as the entire globe. We've gotten into this overreaction. And so when we start instead these new neural pathways of, I get upset and I can come back to myself, then that starts getting stronger and the other ones start atrophying. It's really quite remarkable what we can do with our brains and how we can change the neurochemistry of it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Dawn, I have 2 questions I wanted to ask. The first one's quick, but I think most of the people on the call here are typically giving presentations throughout the day or on Zoom calls. So my first question is there a good color that I should be wearing when I'm giving a presentation to give off like a good energy? And second, maybe if I'm nervous before I'm starting a presentation, do you have any tips on maybe how to calm myself down?
Yeah, so the color one, I would say whatever makes you feel really good. Like I feel really good wearing blue, and anytime you will see me wearing blue. It is intentional because I feel good. I used to joke, all right, well, because I'm wearing blue, you're not looking at my thick middle, you're looking at my beautiful blue eyes. And it was, just kind of make it a joke, but literally I feel good in it. So I'm exuding that confidence. So whatever really makes you feel good, go for it. Don't go by a prescription of, well, if you wear this color, this is exuding this, or, it's whatever you feel good about. And for the presentations, if you are nervous, which, a lot of people still are very less than being comfortable on Zoom. And so do strike a pose right before, or do a couple of moments of going to your own private paradise so you can really get yourself grounded. And then I want to share something that will change your experience with Zoom. If you don't know this, please go to speaker view and then hover across the top of your picture, and you're going to see 3 little white dots on a blue box. And when you click on that, you see a drop-down menu and you see hide self view. And then you're not seeing yourself anymore. Again, that's those neural pathways of why we're experiencing so much burnout and Zoom fatigue, is because we spent our entire lives looking at the other people we were talking to or the other person we were talking to. And for the past year, we've been trying to force these new neural pathways of, wait, I'm looking back at myself. And then you're getting all like, oh my gosh, do I have something in my teeth? And how's my hair looking? And oh, look at him behind me, right? So you turn that off and it just makes this whole Zoom experience a totally different process. And if this is your first time hearing about that, wait until you do a one-on-one Zoom with somebody and you're only looking at the other person. You're going to feel so good because it's going to feel like it's almost like we're in person again. So Zoom tip is like, I've shared this with, thousands of people now because, I talk about the neuroscience of it and it's like, oh my gosh, it makes sense. So put a little pin in this and know that at some point, maybe in the next 6 months, a neuroscientist will come out with a research study saying what I just shared with you. And she knew what she was talking about. Okay, come on. I'm sure there's other questions. And if you don't want to go on mic, you can put a question in the chat.
Stephanie, are there any gratitude journals that you recommend? I usually do the 5-minute journal, but didn't know from your perspective if there's one that you like or that you use.
I'm trying to find who's talking.
Kelly,
Kelly,
hello.
hi. It's really whatever is right for you. I have no, my gratitude journals upstairs. I just get ones that I really like that, when I look at the cover, it makes me feel good. I have one of this, beautiful mystical drawing that I have gotten like for several years because it just makes me feel so good. But it's interesting you asked this too, because another piece about gratitude is when you are handwriting, not typing into an app, but when you are handwriting in your journal, it's wiring it into your brain in a much stronger way.
Mhm.
So, if you keep that gratitude journal by your bed, another tip that I do for, there's a serious power of 3, and I don't understand all of it. I just know if you look, there's 3 prime numbers, 3 primary colors, some sort of a trinity in most religions. So I say in my journal, I write, thank you, 1 exclamation point. Thank you, 2 exclamation points. Thank you, 3 exclamation points. And then 3 things that I'm grateful for, because it's like exponentially sending out so much more gratitude. And as I taught my kids, I had a little avalanche going here, sorry. As I taught my kids as they were little, I believe what you put out in the world is what you get back. So if you're putting out like this intense amount of gratitude, I'm going to wait and see what comes back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, my name is Rebecca. I have a quick question, and thank you very much for all of this. I was wondering how you find time in the day to do a lot of these different exercises. Is it just whenever you're feeling really uptight and anxious, or because sometimes I find myself at the computer and I'm like there for hours, and then I just lose track of time. I'm just working, so.
This is when I do say reminders could be helpful. There is a conference. It's actually coming up at the end of the month. If you're interested in checking out Wisdom 2.0, it's they bring the mindful leaders in the mindful movement, along with socially conscious and business conscious people. And so I'm at this in New York City. They did it a couple of years ago. I'm in this theater in New York. They're talking about the phones, and Tony Fadell, who is the original creator of the iPhone, was saying, I'm wondering now if my grandkids are going to say he's the one who ruined society, and talking about how addictive our phones are, and that all these notifications that we have, the dings, the da 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 da, are designed intentionally to give us a dopamine hit, and then we want more dopamine hits. So one of the techniques in my book is to take a digital timeout. I'm in this theater and I realize I'm the only person in this theater of conscious people that doesn't have any notifications on my phone. But when you are into that groove of just being at the computer, then you might want to set some random reminders, not at specific times or whatever, but just to randomly, it goes off, and then, I'm just going to take a moment and do a couple of my purple breaths or whatever color your color was, Rebecca. But that's where I think that the notifications could be of help. Okay. And I promise you, I really encourage you to buddy up with somebody else who's on the call and be accountability buddies. Stephen Covey years ago said that accountability breeds responsibility, right? So we respond instead of react. All right. One more question.
Well, actually, I was just going to say something to Rebecca's point. Even our new, I guess she's our new head of all investment management, Hanukkah, was saying that like being on the computer, one thing after another, it's exhausting. So she does that thing where she actually ends all meetings maybe 10 minutes before the hour or something. So tries to build in a tiny amount of time, and maybe it's 5 minutes, to just take that breath and get up and walk around the room or something. Because, otherwise you literally could be, you could get on the computer at 8 and get off at 8 at night, never having, really done much of anything except work.
And you can even just take a good minute. It doesn't have to be 5. Tammy Simon, who is the founder of Sounds True, starts all of her meetings with a good minute. So if you start a meeting and say, okay, let's have a minute of meditation, you might get pushback from some people. If instead, let's take a good minute. And then I set my timer for 1 minute, and no surprise, my sound is a little ding, Zen bell chime, right? So when you're a client I'm working with now is using these good minutes when she goes from one task to the next, instead of just plowing right into the next one, she stops, she sets her phone for 1 minute and just has a good minute and feels like she's totally refreshed to go into the next event. Okay, I see a big smile, Rebecca, so that's good. Time for one more question. Anybody?
Thank you.
Great. All right, let me go back to my screen share. And here's my book, Goodbye Anxiety, Hello Freedom. You can get it at Amazon. You can get 5 of the techniques for free at 5 easy ways to calm anxiety.com. You can find me on my website. And I wanted to share one more. Look at Kristen and her cute little dogs. She actually has 6 dogs. I can't believe she has that many. But here she is. She's got this beautiful big smile on her. And she talks about provided tools for me to use daily to stay on track. So number one, most important thing is emotions are a choice. Number 2 is take action. Anybody count how many times I said take action today? So that's it. Thank you so very much for coming. Please do buddy up and check in a week, and you'll see how much more balanced you feel.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. And thank you everyone for hopping on. This was so lovely. I feel very refreshed. I'm ready to go for a little walk outside. So
Nice. It's a beautiful day, isn't it?
Thank you. Thanks everyone. Have a
very
nice night.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.